Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So we've been hearing some wonderful things that the believers are doing on a national level, but I don't want us to feel as though we can't do things even on a smaller scale. So as Sister Saba spoke about, I initiated a book club, inshallah, almost 7 years ago, in my home. So it was called Reading for Jannah. It's called Reading for Jannah Book Club. And I had thought about this before this point, but Shaitan sometimes gets into your head and tells you when you want to do good, don't do that. That's not good. The people are going to look at you as if you might be a Muslim geek, so to speak, or don't do it because people don't read. They're not going to read. How are you going to get the sisters together to do this Islamic book club? But that's not the case. And be mindful, when you intend to do something good, move forward with it. I advise you to always make sure that you purify your intentions prior to, while you're doing it, and continuously, because Shaitan is going to be at you. So constantly continue to remember to purify your intentions and make sure that you continue to do it for Allah's pleasure solely. So we started in September of 2015. I put it out there to a few sisters. It was at my home, as I said, 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning. And the sisters showed up. And I was excited. And as they said, you know, think well of the believers, because this is something has been going on for 7 years. But I want to talk about the benefit of doing things in a group, because I was always a reader. I always read. But my problem was I jumped from book to book to book. I never finished a book. They would say, oh, there's another book out, and I'd grab that book and start to read it, and then there's another book. So I never really completed books. I never really stopped to reflect upon those books. And what does it mean to me as a believer? And how do I adjust myself and my practice based on the knowledge that I'm learning? So, in being in this group, the Reading for Jannah Book Club Sisters, and I just want to be clear, it's a sisters only book club, that if it were not for the sisters, I wouldn't still be doing this 7 years later. If I had decided that I'm going to read one book per month for all this time, my own weaknesses and shortcomings would have had me stop by now. But because I have the support of my sisters, and we come together, we had started with being in each other's homes. And with that, I want to go back and say, when you start something, make sure you start it out, again, with the best of intentions, and make sure that you don't allow other things to creep in. So if you have a book club and you're talking about Allah and His Deen, let that be what you talk about. Don't allow the backbiting, don't allow the slandering, don't allow the idle talk to take over what you have, because at that point the angels disappear. The angels don't remain around for that. So going back, we started with going to each other's homes. Then we had a restaurant that we all went to. There was a Muslim-owned restaurant that we were meeting. Then COVID came, and then we started meeting via Zoom. So as much as sometimes there is some things to be leery about with technology, there is some real good in technology. So use the technology for the good that it has in it. So we continue to meet once a month, and here I'm going to have to refer to my list. So Going back to our first meeting, we read Diseases of the Hearts and Their Cures by Ibn Taymiyyah. Then, and I had to get used to really reading the works of the older scholars, but now I appreciate it because they're very repetitive. If you read a book from the older scholars, just be prepared. They're very repetitive, but they're repetitive for a reason. We've read Disciplining the Soul by Ibn al-Jawzi, Patience and Gratitude by Ibn al-Qayyim, Tawakkul, Trust and Reliance on Allah by Sheikh Saleh al-Fawzan, Weakness of Faith by Muhammad Saleh al-Munajjid, Qualities of the Slaves of the Most Merciful by Sheikh Abdul Razak ibn Abdul Muhsin al-Badr, The World of the Angels, and also there's another book, World of the Jinn by Umar S. al-Ashqar. He has an entire series. It's an excellent series. And during Ramadan, each sister reviews the tafsir of a surah, a part of a surah, and then presents that to the group. So 12 months out of the year, we meet to discuss the Deen of Allah. And not just discuss the book. One of the discussion points is, what kind of changes have you made in your life based on the knowledge that you've gained from this book? Because we can't be like donkeys, just holding on to books, just carrying books and not taking it in and making changes. I also wanted to share, because something Sister Saba said, is that I'm the chairperson of the Women's Committee of Masjid Allahu Akbar. And how that came about was very simple. It was extremely simple. I had ideas that I thought would be good for this masjid. And so there wasn't what do they call those? A box, suggestion box. So I had a piece of paper and I put my ideas down on that paper and put it in the Sadaqah box. Somebody's gonna go into the Sadaqah box. So I put my ideas down, and my first idea was to get a Sadaqah, get a suggestion box. My second suggestion was that we create a women's committee of Masjid Allahu Akbar. So I just wanted to say, it's that simple. It's that simple. So I wrote down, and I had a few other things, and I wrote them down and I put them in the Sadaqah box. And the Imam came over to me, must have probably the next day or 2 days later, and he said, Sister Naasira, did you put this? And I said, yes. He said, that's wonderful. I like it. And it's just not Imam Al-Amin. It's all the imams. It's all the leaders. It's all the people who are leaders of groups, establishment. They're looking for ideas. We can't just sit back and want to ride along with what they're doing, their ideas. We need to come with our ideas as well. And maybe there might be a time that your idea was not accepted. It's okay. Don't let your ego tell you, oh, well, I went. I told him what I thought, and he didn't take it, so I'm done. No, we can't do that. It might be something because the imam or the leader of the organization understands better than we do that maybe at that time it was not a good idea for whatever your idea is. But it doesn't mean that it's not good. So you may have to reapproach at another time and say, it's been some time and I've noticed that X, Y, Z, and I think maybe this might be a good time for us to move forward with that idea that I had in mind. I wanted to also just kind of piggyback off of that and say, you know, even for the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he didn't do it all on his own. He had the companions. The companions, he didn't go out to every place. He sent companions, as the brother was saying previously. He sent them to other groups and said, for example, I'm sending you to the people of the book. So here, this is what I want you to focus on. Also, when we think about the Ghazwa of Khandaq, the Battle of the Trench, it was not the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ who came up with the idea of building the trench. It was Salman al-Farisi who came up with that idea. So if it was an idea of thought to say, well, if Muhammad didn't think of that, well, I'm not going to bring it up. But that was the thing that made them win that battle, was to build that trench around that area. And so therefore, the enemy couldn't get over that trench to get to the believers. So I just want all of us, although we may not be directors of national organizations, we all play a role in this ummah. It's for all of us. So it may not be, you might not like reading a book. You might not like other things, but just think about what can be your role. What is it that you are able to do? And just purify the intentions on that and go forward with it. Go forward fully. My first meeting of the book club, I had it already established. I handed a list out to everybody. Which month are you going to have the book club at your house? So at the end of that book club, we had a year already of where were the book club meetings going to be for a year. So don't come into anything, starting anything, thinking like, well, we'll see, maybe, I don't know. This is for Allah, and truly He will give you the strength behind it. And if He does not, there is a reason for it. But you have to put forward your efforts and your intentions first. So I'm very short on my time. I had 20 minutes, but that's all I have to say. No need in filling up the space with idle chatter. So I thank you, Imam, for being open and taking suggestions, because sometimes there are people who are not able to do that, so I appreciate that. And I appreciate this program because I have personally gained a lot just from the few speakers who have already spoken. So, Jazakallah khair.